Welcome to another Walter Football video. I'm Charlie Campbell, Senior Draft Analyst, the most accurate mock drafter in the world. All right, so let's get into some of the recent hot presses I've reported on Walter Football over the past few weeks. I'll kind of start most recent and work backwards. So first of all, this week we posted I guess it was Thursday, so a couple days ago, that Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson is likely to enter the draft according to team sources. I spoke with sources at a few teams, and that's what they're hearing. And typically, scouts get pretty good information on that from their contacts there at the program. So the scouts that have been going through Alabama have heard that Simpson's likely to enter the draft. I think in this quarterback class, he could be QB1. Obviously, right now, you might say it's between him and Mendoza or Dante Moore, all in that, still got a lot of important football left to be played with the end of the regular season and the playoff, and then you have the whole pre-draft process with the interviews and workouts, and we've seen the order get jumbled and shuffled all around up until the last minute there. So at any rate, I think right now I have Ty Simpson as the number one player on my big board. Reminds me a lot of a couple years ago. I had Drake May as the number one player for that draft class. I had him pretty much from start to finish. I think there was one point middle in the season where I didn't have him number one, but then a few weeks later, I saw what I needed to see. I had him back at one over Caleb Williams and over Jaden Daniels and every other draft eligible player in that class. I had him one. I loved Drake May, and he's proven me right. And Simpson gives me similar kind of vibes because of the accuracy, the functional mobility, the intelligence, the football character, the instincts, being able to throw accurately at all levels of the field, having timing, precision, anticipation. I think Ty Simpson really has just been so impressive this year. Week after week, he makes huge throws to beat good teams in tight games like Missouri or Georgia. Obviously, they beat some other good teams like Tennessee and Vanderbilt by bigger margins. And then South Carolina was competitive, and they have NFL talent, and he's pushed his team to some big wins. It's not like Alabama's defense is the old Saban's defense loaded with a first-round pick at each position group or more than one in each position group. So it's not. I'm not saying the talent's bad. I'm just saying there isn't a whole bunch of Quinnen Williams and Will Andersons and guys like Marlon Humphrey, guys like that on that defense at this time. Ty Simpson and the offense have been carrying that team, especially Simpson. The run game has not been special, so I think Simpson would be smart to enter the draft. The tape he's putting out this year is phenomenal, so that's what scouts are hearing as they're going through Alabama right now. Recently, scouts have been hearing that Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer is more inclined to go back to the Sooners next season. That makes sense. Mateer was off to an awesome start at the beginning of the year, was really good last year at Washington State, but then the thumb injury happened. Hasn't been the same since then. He rushed back after the surgery, playing in only after 17 days post-surgery when he should have been out. Was supposed to be out at least a month. So he rushed back, hasn't been the same. The production hasn't been the same. Accuracy's been off. I think it's led to some problems in some of his decision-making, especially at the end of that game against Ole Miss. Let some big plays get away from him and other easy plays that he should have made get away from him. So I think Mateer going back to school is making the right call. I think he could bounce back next year, get healthy. Oklahoma has got to hit that transfer portal and get him some receivers, because the receivers that the Sooners have this year are not very impressive. They do not help Mateer. You don't see them consistently generating separation and getting open for him. So I definitely think the Sooners have not really helped him out. So getting more receiving talent in there in Oklahoma could make a big difference, and I think Mateer skill set is excellent, really good arm. When healthy, the accuracy is there. Just a special runner. He's like Baker Mayfield, but faster and a little bit taller. And I think that he could be a really excellent pro starting quarterback if he gets back to that early season form with Oklahoma and what he did with Washington State. So, and then lastly, I didn't have this in the hot press. You can click the link below for the hot press on Simpson and Mateer, but just kind of rumblings. Things sound kind of up in the air with Dante Moore at Oregon and Lenoris Sellers. Earlier in the year, I was hearing they were likely to declare, and now it's sounding like it's kind of more iffy that they might go back to school, especially with the money that Moore could get from Oregon. I'm sure Sellers could hit it big in the transfer portal as well. He turned down a lot of money last year from the portal to go back to South Carolina, so we'll see what he does, but that's kind of the latest with those guys. All right, so that was the hot press that came out here in mid-November. Last week, I posted one. I spoke with sources. It was like 5 or 6, let me see, 5 or 6 different teams. And it was pretty apparent that from NFL people, they are not giving Miami defensive end Rueben Bain high first-round grades. Like, none of the 5 had him graded as like a high first rounder. They did not see him in that category of D linemen that go in the top 5, not like the Bosa brothers or Clowney or Myles Garrett or Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker. They did not see that kind of skill set with Bain. A lot of them had him graded much lower. Some had him graded on day 2, but because of this draft class, and they all kind of felt like he was probably going to end up going mid to late first round. Here's one quote from an AFC National scout. He's a good football player, but he doesn't have exceptional qualities. He is not long, and I think that will show up in the NFL. I got him in the second. Then another one. This is from an NFC National scout. I don't know how you take a guy in the top 15 with that limited production. Sorry, lost my spot. With that limited production in the ACC, you can only get to the quarterback twice. That was going into last Saturday. He only had 2 sacks on the season. He got one last Saturday, so he's up to 3. But still, that's kind of a low number, especially against the competition that Miami's played. So I'll continue the quote now. In the ACC, you can only get to the quarterback twice. He's got a lot of hype, and there are not a lot of high-end guys in this draft, so that helps him. Then a quote from an AFC director of college scouting. He's not a Von Miller, Myles Garrett, or Bosa brothers caliber. To me, he's a tweener, and I graded him on day 2. I definitely can see the tweener. I've felt that from the very beginning. He's 6'3", 275 roughly. That's too short in terms of length for what kind of teams are looking for typically in base ends, and he doesn't have the weight to kick inside to defensive tackle on an every down basis. So he's got that tweener size. He really reminds me of Josh Paschal coming out of Kentucky a few years ago. Really tough at the point of attack, plays really hard, strong run defender, physical defender, can contribute some in the pass rush, but the lack of length kind of shows up. Not overly fast, not overly strong, just kind of a tweener end tackle that I think has a role and could be a good, solid football player in the NFL, but not a top 10 talent. So I completely agree with that. I know some, on the kind of the optimistic comp for Bain has been, I've heard from one guy or two, is Bradley Chubb. And I can see that if things work out really well, but I think he could be more closer to Paschal, who has just had a ton of injuries with the Lions since coming into the league, but last year he was playing some solid football for them late in the season, especially when he was on the field, despite all the injuries that had him in and out. But definitely I think Bain is a solid football player, but I just don't see an elite guy. I agree with kind of the assessment of those sources, where he's really more of a day two player, in my opinion, a day two talent and prospect. But in this draft class, I think he could go mid to late first round. All right, and then the last one I thought I'd hit on is Brandon Cisse, cornerback from South Carolina, creating some nice buzz. Multiple sources at different teams were talking him up, like the coverage ability with him, like the skill set. So I think, given the way that cornerback position is valued, it's a premium position in the NFL draft. You have a lot of teams emphasizing it. I could see Cisse just rising through the process. Right now, I heard from multiple team sources saying they saw him as like a late 1, early 2 kind of guy. But that definitely could shoot up there, and I've seen it in the past with other corners who would just kind of continue to rise through the process. They worked out well, interviewed well, started out as a kind of late 1, early 2, and then they end up going in the top 20 or middle first round. So definitely, I think Cisse is a player to watch through the process that could be a riser, and I definitely think that he's gonna have some good workouts from what I've heard from scouts. So we'll see. But those are some recent hot presses I've reported on WalterFootball.com. I thought I'd dig into those. Updated mock, but click the link below for that. 2 rounds, of course, and all the position rankings and everything else. So definitely appreciate you guys for watching. Show some love and subscribe and like and pass it around. We really appreciate it. So hope you guys have enjoyed. I'll be back with you soon.